All right, we are broadcasting live, and this is my favorite part because if you look down at the participant number at the bottom of your screen, you see like it click over with all the people that are logging on now. Um, as always, those of you that are logging on, let us know, chat us, let us know where you're coming in from. I see a lot of familiar names that have been on time and time again. Um, as we have had these webinars since the end of March, which I think I said this for the last two webinars, that if you would have told me that we were still going to be doing these or we would still be in this particular crisis, there's no way that I would have believed you. So Jessica from Louisville and Eric from the Palm Beaches, good to see you again. Maggie, you're already getting shout outs on the chat.
I know, I missed you too, Kim. We didn't meet earlier.
Everyone, we've gone through and done webinars on with receptive tour operators and international tour operators, and we're coming domestic, but really we wanted to focus on a region. The UK market and Ireland market, I mean, that market is just so important to everyone across the country. So as we do more and more of these, our suppliers that are tuning in, they, are gathering information. No one answer is right for everyone. So we're getting as much information as we can out there, and so people can kind of form their own conclusions on what they need to do at their hotel or their restaurant or in their destination attraction. So we're just thrilled that you gave up your evening. It's like dinner time for Claire and Maggie. So gave up their evening to talk with us and rushed home from the office to talk with us. Before we get started, obviously Betsy Cooper with Tour Operator Land has been our sponsor. Everyone that's logging in week after week has heard me say this. Tour Operator Land is a great tool. If you haven't gotten in touch with Betsy to learn a little bit more about it, please do. It is wonderful for royalty-free photos for tour operators, itinerary ideas for tour operators, and everyone can log in free of charge as a tour operator to get that information. Betsy will absolutely put her information in the chat box so you can get in touch with her. So thanks, Betsy. And I am going to go ahead. We already have questions going on too, but reminder that if you do have specific questions as we're talking, if you could put them in the Q&A box, we will try to get to everyone that we have. And if you put them in the chat box, we'll get to them as well. It's just a little hard to find them all. But we're going to get started because we have an hour, and I know that with our lovely ladies that are on this panel, you're going to have a ton of questions for them. No pressure. But we're just going to have, as normal, a conversation and a good time and kind of focus our conversation on what's happening in the UK and Irish market. So I'm going to let everyone introduce themselves, kind of talk about what kind of programs they offer and where their top markets, where their top travel areas are. And we're going to start with Maggie. Miss Maggie, how are you?
I'm fine, thank you. And I'm actually from America and Canada, as you like it, and delighted to be here today.
And most of your tours obviously are bespoke or FIT. We know they go to America and Canada.
So, tours. Yeah. So we've had quite a good success in that. About 80% have booked to come next year. So thank goodness for that. But there are still some rubbish ones that we have to deal with.
I'm sorry for that. Susan, so I feel like the Brady Bunch, right? Because I'm now aging myself too with the squares. But Susan, talk to us a little bit about WebBeds.
Hi everybody, I'm Susan. I'm head of contracting for North America for WebBeds. We're the B2B division of WebJet, so a global B2B player, second largest in the industry. We do business globally, selling global destinations, source markets globally. A large portion of our business is coming out of Europe, predominantly the UK, and then again, I oversee North America.
Wonderful. We're so glad you're here. Thank you for taking the time.
Thank you.
And Claire, who rushed home to get to us.
Yeah. I rushed home from the office. I did. My home. Hi, everyone. So I'm the product director for Travel Department. We're an Irish-owned coach tour operator. So we do tours worldwide, but obviously do all the the standard tours that you'd expect in the US, California, Route 66, Deep South, New York, East Coast, West Coast. Yeah, just happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
So glad you guys took the time. So, we kind of always start out with hearing what you're hearing from your customers, how things are going, cancellations for 2020, or were you able to reschedule them into 2021? Do you still have any plans to do anything in the latter part of 2020, kind of just where your head's at and consumer sentiment and what your clients are saying? So Susan, why don't we go ahead and start with you and just try to get a feel for what's going on right now.
Yes, for us, it varies per region. Unfortunately, in the US, we're seeing a lot of short-term cancellations, but the good news is we're seeing pickup for the second half of 2021. And that's kind of really for the US, but we see a good amount of pickup coming from regions within their region. So Europeans traveling within Europe, Asians traveling within Asia, some domestic US traveling within the United States. But unfortunately, there is a lot of short-term cancellations. Guests were holding on to reservations, hoping they could travel. And then in the month, for the month, we're starting to see, a cancellation occur, unfortunately.
I think everyone's kind of experiencing that. I hate that they're short-term for you and you can't push them forward. Claire, what about you?
Well, we're definitely not doing anything else in the US for the rest of this year. Unfortunately, I'm not sure how much all of you have heard, but the Irish government decided to be extremely helpful and put out a message a few weeks ago urging people not to travel in 2020 anywhere. So while they have listed a few countries as green list that we can travel to and from, there's only about 8 countries. US is not one of. Anyone who has a similar or lower level of cases to Ireland, where they deem it as safe, if not safer, to travel to. But despite that, even with that, they put out a print campaign and a radio campaign to basically ask the Irish public not to travel in 2020. So that was not helpful at all, to say the least.
I find that interesting, yeah.
Yeah, so, we took the decision there and then to basically cancel all of our long haul tours. We kept a few European, but cancel everything for the rest of the year, knowing that was, we likely wouldn't get the numbers anyway, particularly because our average client base is about 65. There, and it's coach touring. It's really, we sort of got hit on all sides there. It's the people who are going to get hit the worst, sitting in coaches together. So, it was sort of a given anyway. But, a bit like Susan said, latter half of 2021, people are rebooking. First half of 2021 is a little bit light. Most people are transferring to the second half of 2021.
But, what will happen? Yeah.
Yeah, I think, I think once we start seeing people going and coming back, people will be more lax about it. We need to see that, whereas Ireland still has relatively little to no travel. I know that the UK is entirely different, and I've seen on sort of some of the Facebook pages, the travel gossip sites and that, where UK agents are traveling abroad and going, oh, look, I'm on holidays and it's lovely. The Irish are not there at all, so they're not seeing it. So I think we're going to be slow to get back, but we'll get there.
Understood. Maggie, how are you? What are your clients saying? How are they feeling?
Well, we've still got some clients that want to travel in September and October, but whether they're going to be able to do, we're cancelling them month by month, and we just wait to see what's happening. But as I said a bit earlier, luckily most of our clients have said to rebook. We've got a lot booking in April, May next year. But I have to say that they were the ones that cancelled earlier this year. So whether they'll change their minds, I don't know. But we're just hoping that they might be able to travel in September, October.
We do too.
I know. We've got
I'm sure everyone on this call does as well, especially if they're coming to their location.
Exactly.
So Maggie and I were talking before the call started as well, and Claire, you mentioned it, the news, and how it's affecting travel, and we're same thing in the U.S. as well, and we're taking deep breaths and stepping back and trying to figure out what we can do to change that consumer sentiment and to help people feel more comfortable to travel again. And that's been a really big, conversation on all of these webinars is, what can we provide? We've talked from safe and clean guidelines to certifications to, to videos, anything that we could do to provide our, the tour operators, you guys, information that you can pass on to your customers to make them feel more comfortable. Is there anything that's working with your clients better than not? And Claire, I'm going to start with you because
I was going to
guidelines.
I was going to jump in there. Yeah, well, I've been doing our own guidelines. Like I said, I was saying before we came on the call that I started them 3 weeks ago, and then I was rereading over them today and realized they were half out of date already. So that was fun. But I do think the likes of Portugal have a clean and safe stamp. And I do think that that's a really strong message to clients, that certain hotels, so basically the country have come up with this clean and safe stamp, and in order to get it, hoteliers and tour providers and coach companies have to adhere to pretty solid guidelines. And it really is a selling point that, if you're trying to send people to a hotel, you can say, okay, well, as a country, I guess in the US, possibly as a state, the government have sort of set these guidelines, and they're, they're robust and they're sort of an international level. And you can go, well, we have that. Ireland are producing one at the moment for our own hotels locally as well, where they can go, okay, we have this safe stamp. We have put in place everything that we need to put in place so it's safe for you to come here. I do think that's a strong message, and it's a good message, certainly for hoteliers. If the state tourist, the Convention Bureau were able to come up with something that was quite, recognizable, specific and recognizable to people, and they go, oh, right, okay, well, if they have that, then we'll be okay. I think that would be useful.
GBAC certification, Eric just said. Absolutely, and I think those certifications really make a lot of sense. And all different brands of hotels and attractions, they've all come up with their own safe and clean guidelines as well. And certainly sharing them as much as we can.
But we have those. So I'm literally getting them. I have them for everywhere. The problem is we can't say to clients, oh, well, I have these individual ones for them, and I have these individual, and this hotel is fine, but that hotel, if there was something more coherent that you could say across the board, they're sticking to these, then not that they have their own guidelines, that these are international level guidelines and all these people have them. I mean, it would be great for me if I could say every hotel we're using on our tour across Route 66 is of this standard.
Right.
I know it's really hard because you guys have all your individual state, policies, but for us, certainly it would be a strong message to be able to give across.
Absolutely, I agree with you, and I wish there was an easy way to get that done. Maggie, is there anything that when you're talking with your clients is putting their mind at ease, or would potentially?
Just making sure that the hotels, we tell them that the hotels they're staying in have been, have done everything they can with their rooms and everything. And then, of course, they're worried about flying and sitting next to people, which is, there's not much one can do about that, really.
So I'm going to jump in really quickly, Maggie. Yolanda, hey, Yolanda, has just put up the Visit England actually have a good to go logo, similar to what it's got. I wasn't aware of that, actually. And we have New England tours. So actually, that would be really helpful if anybody else had anything else like that, if they could send it on to me afterwards, because it would really help us sell the tour. We could put it
perfect.
Put it out there. Sorry, yeah. Maggie. Before the comment disappeared, I had to jump in there.
Yeah. Otherwise, you'll lose it. More will come in. We understand. So, Maggie, you were saying that flying is of a concern.
Yeah, people are worried about it. I mean, I went to Italy, not last weekend, the weekend before, and the flight was absolutely jammed.
Really?
Anyway, what can you do?
Right. Oh my goodness. Susan, what are you hearing from your customers that are coming in and booking?
So a lot of what our clients right now that are booking are domestic US clients. So there's a lot of drive-in market. I think the sentiment will be that people continue to see, like here in our backyard, if they see like Disney and Universal and SeaWorld, you know, they're opening and things seem to be safe and, you know, people are comfortable going. I think the more that a client see of that, they're willing to travel. We are seeing a pickup in some secondary and tertiary destinations, ones that we didn't sell as predominant destinations in the past, that we're seeing a lot of good pickup there. Places like Nashville or, you know, Colorado. I've seen a few Colorado cities pop up on the list. A lot of beach destinations in Florida that we sold, you know, quite a bit in the past, but we're now seeing them coming up as, you know, primary cities, in addition to, you know, the top 5, like the New York, Las Vegas, etc.
Yeah, if I could see Floyd from Colorado Springs right now, I know she probably just sat up and started taking notes. So that you just made her very happy. But you mentioned tertiary destinations. So one of the questions that we've been getting a lot is when you're talking with people to rebook them or reschedule them, are they asking for a more rural destination than an urban destination? You know, are you having to source new product right now on things that maybe you didn't sell before? And Claire, you shook your head up and down, so I'm going to come right to you first. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, we've changed an awful lot of our tours already in Europe, where people might be able to travel through this year, to avoid the main hotspots and the big places that they would have been going to, and actually doing vineyard tours and countryside visits, more so than your main cities. And we expect that when we're sort of relooking at our US tours for next year, that's exactly what's going to happen. Less time in the big cities and making sure that, you know, avoiding the sites. I mean, that's literally what we're doing at the moment, is staying clear of anywhere that could potentially have big crowds.
So you're doing that right now for anything, you know, later in the year within Europe. Yeah. Do you think that you'll see that, you know, first half of next year in the US? Do you think people will, that trend will continue?
I think so, yeah. Because if they're booking now, I mean, I think maybe by the time we get to early next year, people might then be all right thinking about going to these places. But I think if we want them booking now, and we've already seen it. I mean, we changed probably 50% of our European tours now to what we're calling a light and relaxed product, which is basically sort of more rural, less busy, less time on the coach. Obviously, coaching, you know, people don't want to be sitting on a coach for 3 hours so close to somebody. So less time on coaches, more rural destinations, quieter places, and we are also limiting all of our coach capacity to 50%, and we're selling that as a point for our tours for at least the first half of next year, which means that every group we send over is going to be half the size it was this year.
So on that same line, you're looking for more rural destinations, but obviously your activities are changing as well. So you're looking for more outdoor, more open space, you know, those types of things, just kind of reevaluating everything tour-wise that you're doing. Yeah,
even the lunches. I mean, we'd include meals in that, and now we're trying to find places that provide sort of eating space outdoors. I mean, we've found some really lovely places, you know, and it's great. It's actually kind of given us a chance to shake things up a little bit. You know, we found some beautiful sort of outdoor spaces that we wouldn't have previously thought about using. We would have stuck with your standard restaurants, and now we have them eating out in sort of old castles and, you know, things like that. So, you know, it's not a bad thing. No,
it's just, absolutely.
It's just been a lot of work.
Yeah. Maggie, have you been kind of reevaluating product as well?
A little bit, but we always have had quite a lot of things in Montana, Kim, as you know, and in Colorado, Wyoming. So we've always done that, Utah. So if people are ringing up and saying we want to go somewhere where there's not too many people, then that's what we are sort of recommending, really.
Wonderful.
But there's plenty of choice in America, that's for sure.
There is. From the variety of people we have here on the call that are already typing in areas that you can go to in the chat. One of the questions earlier was, are you recording this? Yes, we're recording this call and we're recording the chat box. So our panelists will receive that in case they can't get to everything as it comes in. So, you know, since before I move on to a different topic, looking at new product, looking at new activities, are you interested in receiving information on new product? Maybe some unique ideas that that you hadn't looked at. Everyone on this call is wondering, hey, when is it time to sell? We don't want to be tone deaf, but we want you to have the information if you're planning new tours. So that question is, when can we get you the information that we want you to have?
I can start.
Absolutely. We're always looking for new ideas.
Yep, wonderful.
Same here.
See, and we have it recorded now. They all said that they were interested in new information, and you can send it to them.
You know what? You can send it to me. It doesn't mean I'm going to read it in the next 3 months, but it'll be there when I get to it. We will get to that point. I'm not quite there yet, but at least when I do get there, I'll have the information and I can.
Unfortunately, now is not the time to really broadcast it to the public because everybody's so watching how many cases there are in America and going, oh my God, and that's so it's. But hopefully it'll change very soon, then we can start doing it.
We're all keeping our fingers crossed there. Maggie,
we did a
marketing.
Sorry.
Go ahead, Claire.
I was going to say, we literally put out a Facebook post and we haven't been selling, we haven't been marketing and selling. It's not the right time. But we've obviously been keeping engaged on posts, and we put one up recently and generally people have been really good. But we put one up the other day and somebody came back and said, why would you send anyone anywhere now? As if we're making people go somewhere and bringing back, we're like, we're not making anyone go. I think they were really angry. We're like, we're not, like drugging people and putting them on a plane and sending them places. People have strong reactions.
Everyone does, right? Everyone accepts this information differently. So unfortunately, we all know you can't please everyone, but to have the consistent information out there is good. And Susan, Elaine, hi Elaine, thanks for the question. Just had a question for you on what are you seeing with your clients on destinations? Are they sticking to the same ones? Are they looking at different destinations? I know you mentioned a lot of domestic US right now and tertiary, but are you seeing any other new ticks coming up?
We still see the same pickup within the top fives, the New York, Orlando, Miami, Las Vegas, et cetera, although, their rankings are changing. Beyond the top five, we are seeing some new destinations. They've probably been very popular travel destinations in the past, but my team hadn't necessarily contracted them just because of the amount of team and the time constraints that we had and that sort of thing. So we are adding on a lot of product in, to Tennessee and Montana and Colorado, and we're really putting a bit more of an emphasis on those suppliers that we're working with there just to make sure that we have the correct hotels on board. So we'll continue to see the pickup from the domestic market, and then in the future be able to offer these additional destinations to our clients who are now booking maybe into 2021. So for us, it's actually kind of good. I mean, it's full event is not good at all, but the fact that it's opening up the ability to sell a different destination that we've done in the past, to work with new suppliers. As we mentioned, there's a million places to sell in the US, so it's kind of nice to be able to explore that and hopefully have a few opportunities to send new business.
It's always good to look for the positive in whatever is happening around us. So that is okay, Susan.
Yeah, so we work really closely with quite a few CVBs that are actually super helpful right now to put us in touch with the suppliers. My team is limited in the fact the number of team members that I have, plus we've had our hours reduced a bit. So if there's any help that we can get in order to try and get to the right suppliers, we're happy to take that and look at it and see what we can do to sell new hotels and destinations.
That's great to hear. And high five to all of the CVBs and tourist boards out there that are helping. As an ex-DMO, Susan, you just made me very happy to hear that you are using CVBs. So kind of along this line of new destinations, different destinations, is it changing the hotel product or the stay product that you're using? Are you looking at a villa product or a self-catering unit product rather than a traditional hotel? Does that kind of change an idea of what you're contracting or what clients are looking for?
For WebBeds perspective, we're taking a variety of hotels because we have so many clients. So we'll take, a 2-star hotel on up to a 5-star property. We do have quite a bit of home content. It's really concentrated more in Florida, but we're certainly open to adding that. And I think that there is there is definitely a segment of people that are traveling that are looking for a full home accommodation versus a hotel stay.
Yeah. we've seen that uptick with some of the other markets that we've had conversations with. Maggie, has anything changed for you as far as a lodging type of unit that you're looking at for your clients?
Not particularly. I mean, we sell a variety as well. So people just like, it depends on what they want to do. We've sold more motorhome holidays recently. I think they feel that those are safe.
We have heard that. We have heard that more, bringing back the road trip, motorhomes and RVs for sure.
Yeah.
Product for WebBeds as well, that we've sold it quite a bit in Australia and New Zealand, and we've now in the last couple of months brought that to the US. We have that as for our clients to use.
Yeah. And Claire, what about your product, your accommodation product?
Well, because we do group tours, there isn't an option for homes and that, so it's sticking with hotels. So, for any of the hoteliers out there, we're good.
I love it. So we have a question from Thomas that came in through the chat. And really what we were talking about before we went live on the broadcast is, cancellation and payments. What do you have to offer your clients? So there's a legality in the UK and Ireland on what you have to give back and your cancellation policies. So would you mind tackling that on kind of what you have to do? Or what you are doing, not what you have to do, what you are doing as a company.
Yeah. What we're supposed to be doing, we have these wonderful package travel regulations here, which the government has given us no help on whatsoever, which says that we are supposed to refund everybody within 14 days of their cancellation, the whole amount. So we don't make any money out of it. The interesting thing is we've only just received, well, about 2 weeks ago, our first refund from an airline, which was cancelled in March. Ooh. So no one is, and everybody expects there to be no cancellation charges. And so far, that's okay. And because we've been, at the moment, we can't travel to the US. So luckily, none of the suppliers charge a cancellation charge. So that makes life much easier to deal with than if they did do that. But that's one of the reasons we really are only cancelling so far in advance, because if people are still able to travel, then there would be a cancellation charge.
Understood. And Claire, some of the regulations that you deal with in Ireland?
Well, the package travel regulations is European wide, so we're the same thing. We have been luckier in that we use Aer Lingus, and we have a really, really good, strong relationship. And a person in an airline, I know this is an unusual thing to have. We have a person I know, in the airline that we can talk to, and they have been really, really good. So we have actually we bulk buy seats 18 months in advance to the US with Aer Lingus. We also use United Airlines. And they've all been really, really helpful. We also have a person here in United. I think Aoife is going to be on the call. I'm not sure if she is. And they've been really great. So it means that we have been able to get those refunds faster. But even just getting through I mean, we're nowhere near the 14-day refund that we're supposed to be. And I think people sort of realize that. We are doing them. We are offering vouchers, obviously, to try and encourage people to keep cash. But as a company, we have implemented lower deposits now, free cancellation, free changes, for bookings made this year. Originally for travel this year. I'm quite sure that's going to be extended into travel next year, just to try and encourage bookings, because people are afraid. They're afraid to put their money down. They don't want to. And obviously, there's been a huge amount in the press because we have Ryanair. Are you all familiar with Ryanair? Mm-hmm. Yeah. We do not have a person in Ryanair, and they do not give refunds. So I know that doesn't affect our US business, but our European business has been a huge amount in the papers about how Ryanair flat out came out and said they weren't refunding people. That was it. Even if the flights weren't going ahead, no one was getting a refund, even though that was entirely illegal, because he's like that. And then he was brought to court. He was told he had to refund. Then he was saying it could take 9 months. Actually, originally he said, we'll refund when the pandemic is over. Then he came back and said, we will refund within 9 odd months. I mean, we've had some refunds from March and April, but that has been so big in the news here that people are afraid that even though the law is for a refund, bigger companies are not going to do it. So it has made them very reluctant. So we decided to try and counteract that somewhat with our own our own specific sort of better terms for canceling and rebooking.
Understood. So we have a question from Floyd, specifically about banks and fees that they collect that on booking. And I'm reading the question as I'm saying it. So clearly I can't do two things at once. But are banks being better about the fees they collected on booking, yet you have to take on with the cancellation?
Yeah,
I don't know about you, Maggie. We don't have bank fees like that.
Pardon? We don't have magazines
No.
either. No.
So it's not an issue.
Okay, wonderful. And Dawn has a question. If we kind of move on from the regulations here, she's curious that if cases change in the U.S., which we're all hoping they will by the end of the year and not sooner, curious as to if January and February might be your booking season, or are they really booking closer to travel dates? You know, are you seeing a difference in your booking window?
At the moment, not many people are booking. Everybody's waiting to see, but as all of the people that have taken vouchers for next year have rebooked. So that's good. But until America is open again, we're not going to get many bookings for US.
From our perspective, if I look at maybe our Latin American clients, they are booking, or they're attempting to book for January, February, March, which for them it's a good travel period. So we are seeing advertisements and things like that, interest in trying to sell destinations for that time frame. But I think for Europeans, I think that they're pushing, like you said, until late next year. What we see in the short term as far as a travel pattern is just domestic guests traveling typically within 3 to 7 days.
Yeah. So, I mean, total opinion question, because, you know, we don't know, but as in talking with your clients, do you think that if, you know, when the US opens up, you'll see an increase in bookings right away? Or do you think that people may be more apt to step back and wait and see what happens and then book? I know we have some pent up travel demand, so just wondering if they'll jump on it right away.
I hate to bring this up because obviously it's a touchy subject, but I do think the elections is playing a part in this on top of COVID. And I think that from our point of view, certainly some people are inclined to wait and see how that pans out as well. Just see what the political situation is like.
That's only like 98 days away. So we'll have an answer for you soon.
Right?
Yeah.
I also think that as soon as there's a vaccine that is going to work, then I think people will be really happy to travel. So as soon as that comes along, and we're quite far forward with that, hopefully, then it'll be much better.
I think we're all hoping for that sooner than later, for sure.
Yeah.
Elaine has another question that really focuses around groups. So I'm gonna drop down to you, Claire. Are you adjusting your tours to provide more independent time?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So really just more time for them to choose their own sightseeing activities, things like that.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah, we've already launched a whole range of those in Europe. We just haven't done the same yet with our US tours because we knew we had more time, because we know that there's less likely to be travel this year, whereas we launched it for some of our European tours this year. We literally called light and relaxed, whereas normally we'd have sort of activities every day. Now we're giving people more time and doing less sites. We'll kind of bring them to places and do a little orientation tour and go, all right, off you go, do your own thing, instead of bringing them on a full 2 or 3 hour tour of the city or things like that. So that's our short-term plan at least.
So would it be helpful, I'm going to take Elaine's question and expand on it a little bit. Would it be helpful, knowing that you're doing that, and knowing that Maggie, you're probably putting some of that into your tours as well, and Susan for activities, things like that, would it be helpful for that self-guided information? You know, any destination or city, state, you know, has a variety of self-guided tours. That, you know, would it be it would be good to have that type of information so you could plan it in like that.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Perfect.
Yeah.
And Thomas, hey Thomas Ray, has some information or has a question as well. Curious as to if there's an administration fee for booking with your companies, and is it non-refundable?
Sadly, no. We're all so competitive, aren't we, Claire, in this part of the world? There's no room for administrative fees, Thomas.
No, but funny enough, we have been talking about it recently, Thomas, and thinking, wouldn't it be great if we had done that a year ago?
I know.
But also it would be, we've looked into the legalities of it, and actually it would be refundable anyway, unless you charged it separately to the rest of the holiday. Once it's part of the package and on the same invoice, we would have had to refund it anyway.
Yeah,
so we thought about it. Too late.
Exactly. What would I have done differently if I would have known, right? Yeah.
I would probably have changed careers out of travel about.
I have to say exactly the same.
I mean, I love the
I'm glad you
industry.
didn't know. I like both of you and all three of you in the roles that you're in. Don't go changing.
I love the industry. Don't get me wrong, but you know, a sabbatical would have been good 6 months ago.
It's all too late now. But we have had a lot of fun getting here.
Very true.
We will have that fun again. So this kind of pulls us into, we talked, you said it's really not time to market, you know, that you're really not marketing, you're doing social media updates, staying in touch with everyone through those channels. When do you think the right time to market is? You know, are you going to try to do some marketing in Q4? Or are you going to wait until Q1 of 21 to kind of push those? What are you thinking?
We were planning on September, actually. But then I've been planning on things ever since this started, because I never thought it would go on this long. So who knows?
Yeah.
Hopefully it's another 4 weeks away. It should have quietened down a bit in America by then, shouldn't it?
You would hope so, Maggie. I mean, what do you think? My fingers are crossed. Yeah.
Yeah, mine are too.
We did a consumer sentiment survey about 6 weeks ago. And our intention is to do another one in 2 weeks' time and gauge the reaction before we start marketing again. So our plan, probably, Maggie, is about the same as you, maybe, you know, before the end of September, before the beginning of September. But it depends on the results of the survey that we're going to do to see how it's changed since we did one 6 weeks ago, which was sort of at the height of the lockdown here. And if sentiment has changed a bit, then I think we'll crack on with it. But at the moment, we're not selling. So we're putting stuff on Facebook and we're sending out emails, but we're not selling the product. We're doing sort of, you know, inspirational posts and you know, keeping in touch.
That's what everyone, are you doing the same thing, Susan?
We are, but we're doing it more in market for travel to that market. So Americans traveling within the US, Europeans traveling within Europe. There's not really any ROI, as you said, on doing anything for Europeans coming to the US until things change.
Right. Well, and that's been a big question, you know, that we've gotten from any of the attendees that have logged on is, you know, they want to know when you're marketing, what they can do, when it's the right time to start selling. So as you're thinking about starting your marketing, is there anything that, you know, any of the suppliers on the call can do to help you? Any opportunities for co-op marketing, maybe some of those self-guided tours or, new destinations that you're looking for, more outdoor activities. Is that something that you would be looking to do this year or into next year?
If I can speak, I just really focus on just hotels only. Women can talk about the attractions and restaurants and things like that. But for us, it's very important that we remain competitive. So I know right now a lot of the business is coming from the OTAs, it's coming at the last minute, but we do see that clients are searching the system. We can see what destinations they're looking for. So it's really important that our rates remain competitive, whether you're seeing a booking from the international markets today or not. So they are shopping around, they're checking to see what the prices are. If they find it cheaper, they might not utilize our company or our client as their supplier. So that's very important that we remain competitive in pricing. For us, when we look at ways to sell the hotel, and I hate to say it, but it really rate reduction is the easiest way for us to show the value to our client because we go through multiple distribution channels. So a rate reduction is helpful. If hotels are willing to, reducing the cost of a resort fee or the facility fee or urban fee, as they might call it. I know hotels don't like to give up that revenue, but that is something that shows an immediate value to the client, and it might encourage them to book in the future.
And that kind of rolls us into, and as we go through this, if marketing ideas come up, let's talk about them in this conversation. But it rolls us into enticements, and I don't think we've ever faced anything like this in the travel industry, at least in our experience collectively before. We can talk about 9/11. We can talk about, from the state of Florida, hurricanes, things like that. But what, enticements that work then may not work now. Are there certain types of incentives or enticements that have worked better in your market? And, Susan, you mentioned rate reduction. Are there other things that might draw attention and cause someone to want to book outside of consumer sentiment that we're looking at right now?
In the past, I would say, free breakfast or free upgrades. I think there's two things. Number one, I think when people can travel, they'll want to travel. So even, whether the rate is, let's say it's $100 a night or it's $85 a night, I'm probably going to travel. I'm going to pick that hotel because I want to stay there. But I think rate reduction for us is just the easiest way to show that there is value at the hotel. And if that's what it takes to get the guest to travel. Certainly, trying to encourage the guests to stay a little bit longer. So, pay for a few nights, get an extra one free. I won't say free breakfast anymore because that can be a challenge.
Yeah, because they're not doing them anymore. Yes. Yeah.
So, it is kind of,
yeah.
It is kind of up in the air as to what's going to work. Like I said, I think some people will be happy to travel and they're going to pay regardless of what the cost is. Other people, maybe they're now working in a tighter budget, so they might be looking for maybe, a lower end hotel than what they've booked in the past, or they're looking to see what they perceive as a value by maybe having a rate reduction.
Got it. Claire, does anything change your mind when you're looking at incentives from different suppliers?
Previously I would have said, rates is a huge thing. And especially now for us as a coach operator, if we're reducing the number of people on the coach, price per person goes up. So that's an issue. But honestly, I think from our last feedback from clients is that right now, health and safety is a bigger concern than price. I think that message for our clients, like I said, they're 65 and up, that is a stronger message than price at the moment. And don't get me wrong, I'm not going to pay over the odds, but I genuinely think at the moment that having a strong health and safety message and everything in place that they need in place is going to create more bookings for us.
Right. Yeah, outweigh anything else going on. Maggie, yeah. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, the same actually. But the one thing is the airfares are certainly very reasonably priced going forward at the moment. So people who are interested in booking, then we try and encourage them to do that. So we can at least lock in the airfares.
And just one more thing to add to that, probably flexible cancellation policies will be important.
100%.
And,
that was going to be my next question.
Yeah.
T's and C's. How do we feel about those?
There's a time and place. Yeah.
So clearly, moving into next year and rescheduling programs, you're looking for at least maintaining rate. You don't want that to change from now, the program in 2020 that you've moved to 2021. But are you truly looking for totally different cancellation policies? And it's okay if you say yes. We had a lot of operators that have said yes. What are your hot buttons right now with cancellation policies anywhere across the board, from hotels to attractions, that you're looking at?
Yep, I'll speak. So for us, we'll take, if the hotel has a non-refundable room, they have a regular room available with regular cancellation policies, we'll take all of them. I think just what we're looking for is if things do, heat up again, hopefully not, but, will you be flexible with that cancellation policy moving forward? So I will certainly promote it and help you sell it. But I would just like to know that, if the client, for whatever reason, does decide to cancel, we really need to have some flexibility. if at all possible.
Flexibility
Yeah, I mean,
and
we're-
partnership, right? That's been
Yeah, I mean, we're the same. I mean, because we do groups, we block groups. So, I mean, we generally pay deposits. You know, I mean, we had already forked out a huge amount of money for tours going ahead this year. And most people have been flexible, but the problem is that it's getting to the point now where everybody was flexible because nobody could take groups, nobody could take bookings in the last few months. You know, nowhere's been open. It gets dicey now where Ireland have one of the strictest regulations still in the EU with regards to travel. They're still pretty much not permitting travel to almost anywhere. And everywhere else is opening up. And they're going, well, we can provide the service now. So if you don't come, that's your problem. And to be fair, most people have been good, but we're slowly getting into that area now. And we want to make sure that when we're contracting going forward, that we're not going to be in that position anymore. That if we paid a deposit, that if there's something like this that happens, it can absolutely be moved, you know, the deposit. And it's fine if the deposit's moved down the road. You know, we don't even necessarily need it refunded, but we need to make sure that we're not losing it. And that's a given for us. We're just not going to commit to something otherwise going forward.
Understood. And Maggie, do you feel the same way? You know,
Yeah,
any
exactly the
hot
same
buttons when
way.
it comes to that? Just the flexibility and being able to move forward.
We try and be flexible, but then people also have to, you know, if they can travel, if the destination is open, then they don't really have a reason for cancelling.
Right, absolutely. Floyd has an interesting question. And it's one that I'm sure, you know, everyone, just like you, all of our attendees on the call are looking at what they need to do to their terms and conditions to be flexible and to be your partner. But the question is, you know, if the hotels reduce rates in 2021 to get people traveling again, and it goes swimmingly and we have a vaccine and everything's great in 2021, how are you going to feel if they go back to 2019 or 2020 pricing in 2022, right after we get back to whatever our new normal is going to be? Would you understand that increase? I guess that's the question. Would you understand them having to increase that?
Yes, on our end for WebBeds, we make a margin, a percentage of each booking. So I don't want prices to go down. Our preference is to raise the prices. So by all means, if we can get rates up. So we're encouraging hotels right now to renew into 2021, into 22 as well. You know, if we can at least have something to sell, and then as we see pickup, go ahead and increase the prices, and then we're all for that.
Claire, Maggie, do you have a preference on that?
Most people seem to be holding the rates for 21. I must admit, I haven't given too much thought to 22. Got to get through
this first.
We're just looking
but you know, if there are special offers and we can travel, then we'll certainly put those out. There's no problem with that.
So
I'd be more willing to stay with the same rates that we would have had for this year into next year, as long as we have the flexibility. So I personally, for us, you know, I'm not looking for the rates. Again, quite happy to take cheaper rates. Don't get me wrong, but it isn't the be all and end all. And I would understand it. We've had the feedback from hoteliers that if they drop them for next year to encourage travel, they have to make up for. I mean, they've lost revenue as well. Everybody has lost out here. We don't want to drop our prices for next year. So, you know, I can understand hoteliers not wanting to go backwards after such a terrible year. And then, like you said, the difficulty of getting the prices back up again is always harder, because we would never accept more than 5% increase year on year, ever. So I can see if they were dropping their rates 10% and then they came to us in 2022 and tried to bring it back up 10, 15%, we wouldn't be having it. But we're quite happy to keep the rates the same if they have the flexibility and everything else that we need to keep us all in business.
Yeah,
you know,
absolutely.
we're in this together. I don't want to sound corny, but you know, we're all working.
We're all in this together. That's all right. It doesn't sound corny. We are all in this together.
But separately. But separately.
Yeah. So I told you guys this hour would go fast. We're like down to our last 9 minutes. But we do have some questions here that I want to get to. And, you know, one of the questions has always been, how can we help you? What can we do? You know, what can we do in this time? And Emily has a great question about virtual FAMs and sites. Borders are closed. What are your thoughts on those? You know, we're hearing everyone is zoomed out, is virtual burnout, right? You know, virtual fans, virtual sites, webinar trainings, you know, are those things that you're looking for your team, or even to use for clients, for consumers that you're trying to get interested in a tour? Have you done anything like that?
We haven't.
Sorry, go ahead, Susan.
Sure, Susan.
Done anything like that at the moment. It's something that we're certainly open to, and I think it's a really good idea. I know my team of contractors does spend some time looking at, you know, destinations and trying to learn more about that. So I'd be happy to share that sort of information with my team, and then I can certainly you know, work with marketing, and that maybe it's things that we should be putting out on our website that, you know, clients can go to and refer, you know, to maybe one list of different destinations and get that information. But I think it's a great idea.
Perfect. I know that you know, most of our DMOs across the country have put together some type of virtual training or virtual site or FAM on their destination, and many of the hotel chains and attractions are doing the same thing. So certainly that is a tool that's available if you're not too burnt out on virtual opportunities that are there.
I will just jump in real quickly, Shed. The webinars are the hardest thing for us because we want our sales team to be educated, and you know, they would normally be on FAMs, but we need them on the phones, and they have been really busy. Like I said, not, you know, unfortunately doing refunds, but they have been busier than the average January for the last 6 months. So we can't necessarily give them all an hour to do a webinar, but if there's a linked virtual training that they can do in their own time, that is much more likely to happen.
I would agree.
That is good to hear. So pre-recorded, which is fine, and most of these are.
Yeah.
Estella has a great question from Fort Worth. Are you planning to attend any virtual trade meetings in the future? There's a lot of them that are going on out there, right? So a lot of things have gone virtual to try and keep some type of B2B meeting involved. We are doing a meeting in person in October and one in November. October in Vegas on the international side, November in Orlando on the domestic side. But anything virtual that you're planning to attend?
We have Go West coming up. I don't remember the exact dates, but I've got at least 2 team members that are attending that virtually, and I think it's virtual for this year as well as next year.
It is, yeah.
So yeah, we've got team members doing that. In person, we'll be attending your events that you're having here in Orlando. And
yes, you will. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
I don't have any plans to at the moment. I was asked to join Go West and a few others, but we just have been so busy with full staff, working full time, you know, busier than I've ever been. And whereas usually on an average year, I would attend these things in person, I couldn't even agree this year to do anything like that while we're trying to change our product and get everything ready and you know, change our business.
Understood. And we had this conversation where you feel like you're busier than you were prior. Yeah, for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Maggie, what about you?
Well, we're looking to do Go West. I don't know, Kath is looking to do that, and I'm hoping to come in October. But I would really prefer to have physical meetings rather than Zoom virtual ones.
Yeah. We are an industry that is built on personal meetings, and I don't think that we will ever get away from that. You know, as when it's safe to do so, we will be back to ultimately, you know, developing business face to face, because that's what we were built on, and really where we will garner the most of our business from. So we have about 4 minutes, and these are the softball questions that I ask everybody at the end of the call. You know, where all of this is over and you can finally travel to wherever you want to go. Where is that going to be? And Susan, I know you're going to say Peru, but you can't say that because you already have that book. So where do you want to go when all this is over and you can just travel to wherever? We're all in the industry and it's killing us not to travel.
Number one, I'd probably go back to see my parents in Pennsylvania, in Bucks County, Pennsylvania. So that's the number one place. And then my sister in DC, but gosh, I don't know, I'd go anywhere.
Anywhere.
Yeah, in an airplane. But definitely my family, I miss them.
I love that. Claire, what about you?
For a few years now, I have a big road trip planned doing deep South Carolinas. I'm going to take 3 weeks, do it all. The year both my kids finish school, so I've got 4 more years. That is my plan. I really hope that, I'm going to get to go to a lot of other places before that, but that is my big one. That is definitely going to happen.
I love it. A road trip planned even before all of this started. See, I love to hear that.
But now I'm more determined.
Right. Maggie, what about you, my friend? Where do you want to go when you can go anywhere?
Well, I want to go on a safari if I can go some in the new year when it's not a good time to come to America. So maybe in February.
Ah, that's a good one.
Where, Maggie?
In Botswana.
That would be beautiful.
That is great. So last 3 minutes, any big, well, first, Carolyn asked if anybody was going to World Travel Market.
I don't know yet.
Going, but we have team members that are scheduled to go that are based in Europe.
Okay. And Claire, you haven't made a decision, Maggie, World Travel Market in the future?
No, not yet.
Yeah, not ready to make that call?
Well, it's never my favorite show anyway. So
I can't imagine why not, Maggie.
I can't imagine either.
My favorite day of the year. What are you talking about? What is not to love about traipsing around hot and sweaty, surrounded by people?
Right. So last couple of minutes, last thoughts, words of wisdom that you have for anyone on the call here. Anything you would like to share on some last thoughts about travel, getting travel working? It could be anything, working with new destinations. What do you think, Susan?
I think just if you can reach out to us, give us a call, send us an email, share your destinations. We have a lot of places that we're trying to tackle, but if you reach out to us and we'll do our best to see what business we have to your destination, and then hopefully bring you on board and sell you to our clients.
Love that. Maggie, any profound words of wisdom to share?
I'm always interested in getting some new ideas, so that would be really great.
Perfect. I love it. You've just made everybody on the call very happy. Claire?
Just that, we're not going anywhere. We're all going to be here, hopefully doing this some way different next year, but we're not going anywhere. Keep at it, everyone.
Exactly. So as promised, 1 hour, we'll be done at 2 o'clock. Thank you so much, Maggie and Susan and Claire. It's good to see your faces. And thank you for spending an hour of your time with us. It is now well past dinner time, and I think Maggie has a dinner she has to get off to. So we appreciate you spending your time with us. And for everyone who continues to call in week after week, thank you for coming back to us. Thank you for staying connected with us, and the operators in the industry that give us their time. And I think everyone said it best. We're in this together. We're going to get through it together, and just stay connected. Next week, we are doing this again. We're back at it, and we're going to focus on the Japanese market. So it should be interesting to kind of see some of the differences between what people are thinking and how they might be booking in the future. Until then, have a great weekend. And ladies, again, thank you very much. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Everyone.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Thanks very much.